الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وفقها في الدين يا رب العالمين وألحقنا بعبادك الصالحين. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend last week. The week before, unfortunately, our lesson didn't get recorded. Okay, it was an intensive lesson on Mustalah al-Hadith. Why we done that lesson was in regard because this book is very focused on hadith. Every single hadith, generally he has a full explanation of the authenticity of each and every single hadith. Besides the hadith is from Bukhari and Muslim, of course. So therefore, it is necessary for any student of knowledge to know this material before he dives into the book. This book, Atharu Sunan of Allama al-Nimawi, just when going through the hadith, automatically you'll come across the Shafi'i madhab, automatically you'll come across the Hanbali madhab, automatically you'll come across the Maliki madhab, because it's a book of evidences. So it's not just based on the Hanafi madhab like many people assumed. Unfortunately, that's not the case here. Okay. So we stopped on tadlis. Tadlis is of three types. We spoke about the first type, which was tadlisul isnad. So for example, you're the student here, yeah? You're the student here. I'm the ustad here, yeah? As tadlisul isnad would take place in the sense that, let's say you heard me on YouTube, or you heard from one of the other colleagues inside the class, and you said, Ustad Zamil said. Did you hear it directly from me? You didn't hear it directly from me, but you heard it through a different medium, through someone else, isn't it? But that someone else you didn't disclose. So when you don't disclose, it becomes a problem. You become a mudallis. According to the muhaddithin, according to the MI5, as I like to say, MI6, hadith scholars, you become a target. Because now you are hiding something in hadith which you are not allowed to hide. With ambiguous statements like an Ustad Zamil, on the authority of Ustad Zamil. He might have said it. It's not that he didn't say it. He probably did say it. But the thing is, you're trying to cover up something. So this is known as tadlisul isnad. Tadlis in the sanad. Tadlis in the chain. Tadlis means to conceal something, to hide something. So hiding something in the sanad. That's what it means. Tadlisul isnad. The second type, tadlisul shuyukh. Here, for example, everyone knows Imam Abu Hanifa by the name of Imam Abu Hanifa. But if someone narrates and he says on the authority of Nu'man bin Thabit, many people don't know who Nu'man bin Thabit is. They have no idea, isn't it? They have no idea who Nu'man bin Thabit is. Likewise, Abu Huraira. Everyone knows Abu Huraira by the name of Abu Huraira, by his laqab, by his kunya. Now, if you say Abdurrahman bin Sakhar said, half the world is going to be confused. Who is Abdurrahman bin Sakhar? Nobody knows his name. You understand? So you're using a nickname or a kunya that's not known to that person. It's less known. His name is less known compared to the name given to him, name known by the muhaddithin. So the person did meet the sheikh. This is his sheikh, but he uses a different name of the sheikh. Okay? So this is known as tadlis shuyukh, when you conceal the sheikh in a different way. Yeah? You give a different name to the sheikh. But it is his name. It's just the less known name. Okay? And the third type of tadlis concealing or hiding in the hadith is, so this is regarding a mudallis. A person who does this is called a mudallis. The hadith itself would be called mudallas. Mudallas. Okay? Mudallis is the person doing it. Mudallas is the hadith. Okay? So the hadith would become mudallas. Now, mudallas hadith, it depending on who's the narrator, it can be sahih and it can be weak. Okay? It can go to any categories, depending on the person that's doing it. Because there's some mudallisin in Bukhari and Muslim. Many mudallisin in Bukhari and Muslim. And likewise for the other books of hadith, all the other books of hadith. So, some mudallisin are accepted, some mudallisin are not. This is going to depend on individual person, depend on the actual individual narrator, the actual muhaddith that's narrating that hadith. Tadlis taswiyah, we come to the last one. So, for example, a trustworthy sheikh, he's narrating it from a weak narrator, and then that weak narrator is narrating it from a trustworthy narrator. So there's a weak narrator in between. But the strong narrator, the sheikh, he doesn't disclose the weak narrator. He goes straight to the authority in hadith, the one that's more trustworthy in hadith. It's as if he's concealing the weak narrator in order to make it look to the student as if the hadith is sahih. Whereas the hadith is not sahih because there's a weak narrator in between him, who is a trustworthy narrator, and another, and between another trustworthy narrator, there's a weak narrator who he concealed. This is known as tadlis taswiyah. These are the three types of tadlis generally speaking. So mu'an'an hadith or mu'an'an hadith is a hadith where a narrator says an, on the authority of this person, on the authority, meaning I'm getting the hadith directly from this person. But if the person is known, the narrator is known to be a mudallis, he's known to say an when he didn't directly hear it from the ustad. Okay, generally speaking, when he didn't directly hear it from the ustad, then in that case, that narrator would be deemed as a mudallis. Mudallis. So, because generally when you say an, it means you heard it directly. If you say an Malik, it means from Imam Malik. Directly from, you heard the words directly from Imam Malik. Back in the days, they never had YouTube. They never had social media. It never existed. Okay? So, at the bare minimum, there needs to be a meeting that took place, according to the authentic opinion. There needs to be, whoever a narrator is narrating from, he has to have met that sheikh. He didn't meet that sheikh, then there's no possibility of. So, for example, I live in London, another sheikh lives in Egypt. I've never traveled to, let's suppose I've never traveled to Egypt. Okay, let's give an example of Mauritania. Let's say Mauritania. I've never gone to Mauritania. I narrate from a ustad in Mauritania that has never been out of Mauritania, and I've never been to Mauritania. Is there possibility of meeting? There's no possibility. The sheikh never came out of Mauritania. I never went to Mauritania. So can Ustad Zamil narrate from that sheikh from Mauritania? No. There's no liqa. There's no meeting of the two people. So if there's no liqa of the two people, no meeting of the two people, then that hadith will not be a hadith. It will be like munqati hadith. It will be like a broken sanad. Okay? And the hadith will be automatically deemed as weak according to the vast majority of the muhaddith. Automatically. Okay, then we go into the next section. So this is on page 499. Those who have the book, yeah? This is the book. Those who have the book, 499. Athar Sunan. Please buy the book. This is an amazing book. Absolutely brilliant book. Brilliant book. Okay, Ziyadat al-Thiqah. Then we go to another Ziyadat. Ziyadat means an addition. An addition. Something that the trustworthy narrator added. Thiqah is used in hadith literature everywhere. Okay, everywhere in any book that you go to, you're going to hear thiqah. Thiqah means it's one of the highest caliber of trustworthiness when it comes to hadith narration. So, for example, a narrator like Imam Bukhari, you'd call him a thiqah. Imam Nasa'i, you'd call him a thiqah. Imam Abu Dawud, you'd call him a thiqah. Why? Because they have the highest caliber of memory power, highest caliber of piety, highest caliber of meticulousness when it comes to narrating. precision in narrating, okay, each and every single individual hadith. So ziyadatul thiqa is basically, let's say there's 10 students here. Yeah, there's 10 students here. 9 of them narrate in one way, but one of them narrates in a different way. All of them are trustworthy. Every single one of them are 100% trustworthy. They're very good, very accurate. Generally speaking, all of them are on a very high caliber. All are A-star students. Yes, A-star students. But one, he added a certain word or 2 words. Now, is that accepted according to the muhaddithin and the fuqaha? According to, as long as it doesn't go against the 9 other narrators that are narrating from the sheikh, it is allowed. This is called ziyadatul thiqa. Ziyadatul thiqa, the addition of a trustworthy narrator. Okay? Of course, in the Hanafi madhab, Imam Abu Hanifa will put another clause to say that it has to be from a person who doesn't conflict with the hadith. He has to be a faqih of the matan. Can't just be a muhaddith per se. He's memorizing hadith and he's just narrating hadith. It's not enough. He has to be a faqih of the matan. He has to understand the deeper meanings of how the matan works and how this matan is applied. Okay, this is where Imam Abu Hanifa makes a big distinction. There was a time when the question. What? He has to be a faqih. He has to be someone. So Imam Abu Hanifa is very strict when it comes to accepting the narration of just a muhaddith, a person who's only known to memorize, only, and to transmit. He's got hadith lessons, huge hadith lessons. He dictates hadith. Everyone comes and writes hadith. Even though he's known as the muhaddith of the world, but Imam Abu Hanifa, he may have reservations because of the meaning of the hadith. Imam Abu Hanifa focuses more on the meaning of the hadith. Because he already knows who's in his sanad. Imam Bukhari never existed. Imam Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi never existed. These books never existed. These imams never existed at Imam Abu Hanifa's time. So when he's accepting a hadith, he's not saying, oh, this is a hadith of Bukhari and Muslim. That's how we think nowadays. Unfortunately, that's how narrow-minded we are, shallow-minded we are. But you have to understand, Imam Bukhari's time, there was no such thing as... So you know the categorization in hadith, in Mustalah al-Hadith books, in Usul al-Hadith books, that they say the most authentic hadith is a hadith that's, you know, Lu'lu' al-Marjan. Everyone knows the book? Lu'lu' al-Marjan, 2 volumes. Basically, a sheikh from Saudi, he compiled two volumes of all the narrations in Bukhari and Muslim that are muttafaq alayh, that are agreed upon by Imam Bukhari and Muslim. Now, according to the definition of the muhaddithin, well, Shafi scholars, specifically Shafi scholars, I'm going to make this clear. You need to know, when you're taking ilm, you need to know how to take ilm. You don't just absorb anything and everything. You must understand. That's why you go to a sheikh. That's why you go to an ustad. That's the reason why you go to an ustad. How to understand text. You can't just understand text. A book is here. Yeah, you understand what shaykh is. Don't try to understand what shaykh is. I explained to you last time, isn't it? Muttarib hadith is. You'll never understand it. You just never understand it unless you see practical examples, unless an ustad comes and explains to you. Okay. So, we were saying that, where did I go? I was going to give an example of Imam. Okay. We'll leave it at that, inshallah. We're not going to talk too much on that topic. But, inshallah, let's continue. So, you must be able to assess what they mean. Oh, Lu'lu' al-Marjan. That's what I wanted to say. Lu'lu' al-Marjan is a book of hadith that's compiled all the hadiths of Bukhari and Muslim. So, all the hadiths that appear in Bukhari and Muslim together. So now, according to the Shafi Mustalah al-Hadith books, and those are the normal books that we study, generally speaking, in all the madrasas in the world, because I told you 90% of the scholars of the Mustalah al-Hadith that wrote on Mustalah, on the principles of Hadith sciences, majority of them are Shafis. Yeah, 90% are Shafis. Very few Malikis wrote on it, very few Hanafis wrote on it, very few Hanbalis wrote on it. But vast majority of all throughout the 1,400 years, it's been the Shafi scholars. Now, the Shafi'i scholars, they make a note there inside the books. It's in majority of all the books. You'll find it in the commentary of Bayquniya. You'll find it in Muqaddimah ibn Salah of Ibn Allama ibn Salah. You'll find it in Tadrib al-Rawi. You'll find it in all the books. All the major canonical books, well-known books, you'll find it in all of them. What they say is the hadiths that are agreed upon by the two sheikhs, meaning Bukhari and Muslim, they are of the highest caliber. Then that which is narrated by Bukhari, then that which is second level, then that which is narrated by Muslim, then that which is narrated by, for example, they go into the other categories, that which is narrated by the four Sunan, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Nasai, Ibn Majah, then they'll go into other sections, yeah? They have all this categorization comes everywhere. Now, how could this categorization make sense? Because all this categorization that's come about, according to the later scholars, never existed in the early scholars of the four madhabs. In the early four madhabs, these 6 imams of hadith never existed. You understand? So this whole categorization is a misunderstanding, okay? At the least, to take it on face value is problematic, at least problematic, okay? So a hadith that comes in Bukhari and Muslim, you can't just directly, automatically say, oh, this is definitely more authentic than any other hadith that appears. Remember the other day we done the hadith in Daraqutni, and Imam Bukhari himself admitted that that hadith is more authentic. Imam Bukhari narrated the hadith in his book, but the hadith and it's in Muslim. But the hadith that is quoted in Daraqutni, that's used as proof by Imam Abu Hanifa, is more authentic, with the accreditation of Imam Bukhari himself of the isnad on the hadith. So this clearly shows that not always when a hadith comes in Bukhari and Muslim, automatically you say khalas, end of the world. There's no such thing like that, okay? Bukhari and Muslim never existed at the time of the 4 imams. The 4 imams are from the Salafus Salihin. The 6 imams of hadith are later after that period of the 3 golden eras. Okay, we done Ziyadatul Thiqa. Then we go on to, any questions on this? The Ziyadatul Thiqa. So 9 students narrate one way from the Ustad. One student, he added a certain wording. That wording is accepted. Generally speaking, is accepted as long as it doesn't contradict the fiqh of the matan. Next, we go on to shadh. We go on to page 499. Shadh, irregular hadith. What is irregular hadith? Irregular hadith is, let's say, you're a trustworthy narrator. I'm giving an example like this because so it sets on in our minds. You're a trustworthy narrator. You narrated a hadith, yeah. But there's another narration which is narrated by a whole chain of more trustworthy narrators than yourself, than the chain that you're narrating with. So automatically, the hadith that you're narrating would become shadh, become like isolated. Why? Because it's going against something which is much more authoritative when it comes to hadith. Okay? Much more authoritative. Basically, a trustworthy narrator which is contradicted by another narrator which is much more, or narrators which are much more trustworthy. Okay? Which are much more trustworthy, and their memory power is well known. It's like saying you're comparing Ibn Majah to Imam Bukhari. Do you understand? Imam Ibn Majah is an imam. He was an imam. He was definitely a trustworthy narrator, one of the greatest imams of hadith. But can you compare him to Imam Bukhari? No chance. You understand? So Imam Bukhari narrates something and it conflicts with the narration of Ibn Majah. Conflicts. This is when confliction happens, okay? This is when contradiction happens. When contradiction happens, then of course the isnad of Imam Bukhari will take precedence over the isnad of Imam Ibn Majah. Radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. So this is the example of shadh I gave you. Then munkar is when a weak narrator, he reports a hadith, and an authentic, meaning a more trustworthy narrator, he narrates something on top. So now, when the trustworthy narrator narrates a whole chain of trustworthy people, and so of course you must know that in a hadith, when there's one single weak narrator, automatically the hadith becomes weak. This is why it's really difficult to find Sahih Hadith. That's why I said, if you look for Sahih Hadith, just Sahih Hadith, you're going to be leaving out at least half the hadiths inside the bin. That's why I said, that's the truth. So those who promote only Sahih Hadith, you're literally throwing away more than half the hadith literature. This was not the way of any muhaddith in the world. Any. I'm talking about any muhaddith in the world. This was not the way. This was not the way of Suyuti. This was not the way of Ibn Kathir. This was not the way of Ibn al-Athir. This was not the way of Hafid al-Zabidi. This was not the way of Hafid al-Iraqi. This was not the way of Hafid al-Sakhawi. This was not the way of Izz ibn Abdus Salam. This was not the way of Ibn Sayyid al-Nas. This was not the way of Hafid al-Subki. This was not the way of any imams. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, any imam in the world. No one said reject hadith, weak hadith. Because they know the ultimate result. You're going to be left with nothing. Your deen is going to be left with nothing. You understand? Yes, there's certain reasons why we use weak hadiths, certain instances where we use weak hadiths, but we don't neglect it. Nowadays, our mindset is weak hadith, automatic rejection. As if you become the muhaddith of the world. This is completely against all the muhaddithin in the world. So those who claim Ahl Hadith, this is go contrary to the works of Ahlul Hadith. Go and see the works of Ahlul Hadith. Go and see the works of Imam Bukhari in his Tarikh. How many hadith is weak he brings along? How many hadith weak he brings along inside Adab al-Mufrad? How many hadith weak Imam? So many Imams bring in so many of their books. So many. It's unlimited. All the books generally have Ibn al-Qayyim, Ibn Taymiyyah in his Fatawa, full. I told you, Fatawa is Majmu' al-Fatawa full of weak hadith. So, what are you going to say? You're going to come and promote, we're the only promoters of Sahih Hadith. Doesn't make sense. Your idea never made sense. If it made sense, the Muhaddithin would have been the first one to do it. Do you understand? The first one, Muhaddithin would have been the first ones to do it. So, this is not the way. Anyway, so Munkar Hadith is when a weak narrator narrates a hadith and it conflicts with a stronger narrator. Stronger narrator, that's a more trustworthy narrator. This is called a Munkar Hadith. Now, Munkar sometimes is used because Munkar literally means in the Arabic language means he rejected. I know here this is better. This is probably a better translation. Denounced. Why? Because of the problem. A weak hadith, a weak narrator, and a stronger narrator. Whereas generally, sometimes they use it in the literal sense. So, for example, when Imam Bukhari says hadith is Munkar, according to now Imam, that's why I told you need to know the specific definitions of who says which word, why he says it, what he means by it. Okay? Imam Bukhari, when he says Munkar, that means the hadith is fabricated. Imam Bukhari, when he says this hadith is Munkar, he means it in the literal sense, in the rejected sense. This hadith is absolutely mawdu'. You understand? It means mawdu', completely mawdu'. This hadith is absolutely rejected. So he doesn't use this meaning. Okay, when you go into his Tarikh books, he won't come according to this meaning. This meaning is according to the later scholars. That's why I told you, this is just a general guideline. You have to go into the specifics of which muhaddith says which word and what does he mean by that word. Okay? These are just general principles, general guidelines, which majority of the ulama use. You have to go to the isolations you need to know and study later on. Right, inshallah. Next, we go on to Mudtarib. I already explained this. Yeah. Basically, there's so many differences in the matan, in the sanad. It can be in the matan, the actual wording of the hadith. It can be in the sanad. Then there's no assurity of who this person is. One person is saying he's this, another person is saying he's that. So, and there's no way of preferring one opinion over the other. So now this hadith becomes confused hadith. Confused hadith. Here it translates as shaky. Yeah, shaky hadith. So this mudtarib means you can't prefer one narration over the other narration. Okay, there's no conclusion basically to those narrations. And the hadith of Jariyah, when she was those who couldn't speak. She was dumb. Yeah? Couldn't speak. And she was a slave girl. It comes in Muslim Sharif. Famous hadith. All the Salafis use it. So they proved to say that here Rasulullah said to her, Ayn Allah. Where is Allah? Rasulullah said to her, where is Allah? Why? Because she was dumb. She couldn't speak. So the only way she could point, in front of her was the Kaaba. In front of her was idols. So she couldn't point to the idols. She pointed upwards to show the greatness of Allah. But now they take it in the literal meaning of the hadith and they say, no, Allah is in the up direction. If you're in South Pole and you point upwards, what's going to happen? You're going to point upwards. Which upwards is that? When you're on the North Pole and you say upwards, now it's confirmation that the whole world is spherical, isn't it? It's a ball. So when you're on North Pole, upwards is which way? When you're on South Pole, upwards is which way? Do you understand the damage that it creates and the illogical understanding that you come to? Our Lord, Allah, is not in a place. Place doesn't restrict Allah. Allah was never restricted by any place or any time. These two are definitions of creations. These are created by itself. By definition, they're created. Place and time are created. Allah is not on something. If a person says Allah is sitting on the arsh, immediately he commits kufr. Immediately he commits kufr. Allah is independent of the arsh. Ghaniyun. Ghaniyun anil arsh. Allah cannot be. He doesn't have the qualities of a human. He doesn't have the quality of a creature. You understand? It's very dangerous to go into that topic. Anyway, that's the background of the hadith of Muslim Sharif. Then we go on to ma'lul and mu'allal. Mu'allal hadith. Defective hadith. Example, a musnad hadith, a hadith that according to the apparent sanad, it is completely connected, fully connected. This narrator met that narrator, that narrator met that narrator, that narrator met that narrator. Alhamdulillah, this is a perfect sanad. To a student of knowledge, this is a perfect sanad. No issue. When a master of hadith comes in, when Imam Bukhari comes in, automatically he says, no, this is not a connected chain. This person did not meet that person. To a normal student, he thought this is completely connected. This is a musnad hadith, joined from every single generation. But only an expert can know what the problem is. Okay, this is called defective. And we went through the hadith that was defective. It's narrated in 5 of the books. It's narrated in Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i, Ibn Majah, plus Imam Ahmad's book. But that hadith, according to the muhaddithin, is defective. So Imam Abu Hanifa said, look, this hadith is ma'lul. Doesn't matter where it comes. It doesn't matter where it comes, which book it comes in. This hadith is ma'lul. There's a problem with this hadith. The narrator is majhul. One of the narrators there is, we don't know of who he was. When you don't know a narrator, automatically the hadith becomes weak. You need to know, MI6 needs to know every single narrator, what they narrated, when they narrated, who they narrated from, who are his ustads. Everything needs to be known. Like Imam Abu Hanifa, he had 4,000 ustads. 4,000 ustads. A person who says Imam Abu Hanifa doesn't know hadith. Do you understand the madness of such a statement? It's absolutely just ridiculous. To any scholar that knows any level of biography of Imam Abu Hanifa, his head is spinning by these words. When a person says these words, that Imam Abu Hanifa knew this many hadith and that many hadith, or he was weak in hadith. How did he become a mujtahid imam if he was weak in hadith? How did the whole ummah, from first scholar to the last scholar in the world, not the Tom, Dick, and Harris, yeah? We're talking about the scholars. How did all the scholars agree upon his imamat if he was only a weak hadith narrator? That's completely against. Imam Dhahabi praises him specifically in his Siyar A'lamun Nubala, in his Tadhkiratul Huffaz, in his many books. He even wrote a specific biography for Imam Abu Hanifa, just to tell the whole world he's a Shafi. He didn't need to. He didn't need to write a whole biography on Imam Abu Hanifa, but he knew the accusations leveled against Imam Abu Hanifa and the injustices that people have against Imam Abu Hanifa. You understand? That's why he wrote a whole biography to prove his level of authority in hadith. And he was not a normal person in hadith. This person was the mujtahid of the imam of the time. He had thousands and thousands of ustads all over the world, not just in Kufa. He had thousands of ustads in Makkah and Medina. You can't restrict him to one place. He was a rich man, very rich man, excessively rich man. And he traveled. He was known as a traveler. He was known in his book, in the books of biography, they mention he was a well-known traveler. Unlike Imam Malik, for example, he stayed in Medina all his life, beside once when he went for Hajj. He had to go to Makkah. Other than that time, he stayed in Medina all the time. Subhanallah. So, these are common sense. People don't understand, don't study. They want to listen to one YouTube sheikh and then they start shouting out this and that. They have no idea. They have no idea. Unfortunately, this is ignorance. Ignorance plays a massive role. Just because one sheikh said something, that doesn't mean it's true. Okay? Just because one sheikh said something doesn't mean that's gold and everything else is silver. Okay? Go and try to research, go and try to make sense of things for yourself. Allah gave you an aql. Aql, afala ta'qilun. Allah says for a reason. Use your brain, use your intelligence, use your Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you this brain for a reason, for you to ponder and for you to think and for you to research. Animals don't have it. That's why they don't have that same status. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Karramna bani Adam with what? With intelligence. With intelligence. What karama is there without intelligence? You understand? Okay, Ma'lul. I'm sure you understood that. So, for example, you understood it to be marfu hadith, but then you find out, no, it's a mawquf hadith. It's actually a statement of a sahabi rather than the statement of Rasul. So, in this case, or for example, here he gives another example, narrating from a sheikh, and it is discovered that he did not meet that sheikh. But who will know? Only an expert will know. And one of the best books to study Ilalul Hadith is Imam Nasai's book. Imam Nasai's book. Imam Nasai's book is definitely, from the 6 books, that's one of the best books when it comes to studying Ilal. You might want to make a note in the future, inshallah. Ilal, the best book to study Ilal of Hadith is, meaning defective issues in variant Hadiths, the best book to find that in is An-Nasai. Sunan al-Nasai. Imam al-Nasai, he memorized more than 500,000 hadiths. More than 500,000 hadiths. Okay? They once, people think they become muhaddith, studying for 5 years, 10 years, 17 years in, Azhar or Saudi or something. It's an impossibility. I'm telling you, in this day and age, it's an impossibility. It's an impossibility. It's a clear impossibility. When they use the titles, Muhaddith Shab, Muhaddith, Shaykhul Hadith is fine. You can say Shaykhul Hadith. There's nothing wrong with saying Shaykhul Hadith. Shaykhul Hadith is someone who teaches Hadith all his life. He's been teaching Hadith all his life. He's been teaching 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. He's been teaching Hadith all his life. Tafajjul Haq Sahab, Bangladeshi, famous Bukhari Ustad. He's been teaching for, 70 years or something. As many years as he lived, more or less. He was teaching Hadith in the senior years. Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, all the books he was teaching in various institutes, biggest institutes in Sylhet. So, great muhaddithin. Our Bangladesh has great muhaddithin, alhamdulillah. But the thing is, we don't use the word muhaddith. Muhaddith is a different statement. Muhaddith is someone who memorized, generally speaking, of those centuries, memorized a minimum of 100 to 300,000 hadith with the chains. So it's not a joke. It's not just a statement that you just throw around and you can use it loosely in the sense that, okay, he's specialized in hadith. Fine, we'll call him a muhaddith just for the sake of it. Just like we call muftis nowadays. Just like we say muftis. Are they real muftis like the caliber of Mufti Taqi Usmani? Never. Of course not. We know that. Nobody's on that caliber. All the world, ulama of the whole panel of the world is attesting to the level of Mufti Taqi Usmani. You're going to compare yourself to Mufti Taqi Usmani's level. In fact, the greatest book to be ever written in hadith literature right now, at this moment of time, is being collected by Imam Mufti Taqi Usmani. So you're going to compete with him when the Arabs couldn't compete. None of the Arabs could come close to him. And it's admitted by the Arabs. Admitted by the Saudis, admitted by the Yemenis, admitted by the Jordanians, admitted by the Egyptians, admitted by all the UAE scholars in Qatar and everywhere. admit it. They know what hadith is in India very clearly. They can't touch that because they don't have that legacy to prove that. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah for hadith to come to our lands, and Alhamdulillah for hadith to be able to learn in these institutions, in the Darul Kufr. In Darul Kufr, we are allowed to study the hadith of Rasulullah. This is the greatest blessing in the world. Darul Islam, they can't even study. In many of the places where Muslim countries, so-called Muslim countries, they're not allowed to teach. Hadith of Rasulullah, many of them, they disallow many of the books. Many of the chapters, absolutely not allowed. Kitab al-Jihad, you're going to teach Kitab al-Jihad? Absolutely not. Against politics, against government, against everything. You're not allowed to study it. But alhamdulillah, in all our darulums, we study from the first hadith to the last hadith. First hadith to last hadith of every single book that we study. With the explanation. Not just with matan of the hadith. Alhamdulillah. Anyway, the next one we go on to, inshallah. Okay, so a Sahih Hadith. What is a Sahih Hadith? A Sahih Hadith is that which has a continuous sanad. That's the first condition. 5 conditions, yeah? I'm sure everyone heard of these conditions. This is revision, good revision. So continuous sanad, ittisalu sanad. Second one, made up of upright, thoroughly, adil. Adala is a condition. Upright, pious individuals. Number 3, dabt. Dabt means precision in memory. Precision in memory, or some were muhaddithin, like for example, I said, Ibn Abi Lahi'a. He was one of the famous narrators in Bukhari and Muslim. He was a narrator that used to narrate according to his book. But later on, when he became old, all his house got burnt down, and he wasn't able to narrate. He used to narrate with one hadith with another matan with another sanad with another hadith. So he used to get mumble jumble, basically. He used to get mixed up. So they didn't accept his hadith. He's at the end of his life. So if this is the case, all the hadiths that he narrated from his book, because his level of authentication is from the book. He would write from the sheikh and he would dictate from the book. You understand? This was his method. But the vast majority of the muhaddithin, they relied on memory power. And the other muhaddithin would come year after year to come and test those hadiths that he narrates. Okay, just for a surety that the next year he doesn't narrate any single hadith with a different word. You understand? Or any other narrator. He doesn't add or decrease any narrator. This is how they used to find out that this sheikh is authentic. This sheikh is authentic in his teachings and he's a trustworthy narrator. You understand? They come and assess him every single year. It's like a training program that you have to go to. Like doctors, they have to go every couple of months. Likewise, it's the same thing. Uber drivers nowadays, they're stuck as well with this. So, khair inshallah. So, these are the 3 main conditions. Then the hadith must not be ma'lul, not be defective in any way, okay, in the matan or the sanad, okay. And the last condition is it must not be shadh. Shadh we spoke about, yeah. Authentic narrator conflicts another authentic narrator which is more authentic than him, more trustworthy than him, okay. So the hadith must not be ma'lul and the hadith must not be shadh. Those are the 5 conditions of Sahih Hadith. This hadith would be called, according to the vast majority of the ulama, as Sahihun lidhatihi. Sahihun lidhatihi, meaning Sahih by in and of itself. The hadith itself is Sahih in and of itself, meaning it doesn't need any more support for it to be called anything else. It's Sahih by itself, if all those 5 conditions are found. If those 5 conditions are not found, meaning the 3rd condition here, we're talking about the reliability in memory is not of the highest caliber, then this hadith is known as Hasan. Hasan hadith. Yeah? Good hadith, sound hadith. Sound hadith, normally, they translate, sound hadith, they say Sahih. Yeah? Authentic. Authentic sound, similar meaning. Hasan, good. Like Jayyid. They say Jayyid. In many of the muhaddithin, they say Jayyid. Jayyidul hadith. This narrator, his hadiths are good, accepted. No, la ba'sa bihi. There's no problem with it. Those words, they are common in hadith literature. So, when he doesn't meet the same memory power and precision of the Sahih category of Muhaddithin, then the hadith automatically becomes Hasan. Okay, so there's a middle path in between. Just like those who love bid'ah and sunnah, yeah, there's no middle path in between. There is a middle path. There's always a middle path in between. So here you find Sahih, Da'if, and the middle path called Hasan. Hasan. Okay? Always remember that. There's bid'ah, there's sunnah, and there's something called mubah. Mubah means permissible, allowed. Not everything is bid'ah and not everything is sunnah. Some things are just allowed. Rasulullah allowed it to happen. You understand? Okay? Remember that categorization. Many people think sunnah or bid'ah. It has to be one of the two. It can't be any other. The my way or the highway. Problematic, very problematic. Anyway, so this hadith is now going to be considered as sahih or hasanun li dhatihi. In and of itself, it is hasan. It is good. It's acceptable. Then we go into other categories. For example, if you have many hadiths, many chains of narrations, which have many hasan hadiths, they collectively would go up to the level of sahihun li ghayrihi. Sahih li ghayrihi. Sahih because of other factors, let's say. Other factors. Other factors, why? Because Hasan. Let's say you have 3 Hasan hadiths. You understand? 3 Hasan hadiths, meaning all the narrators are average. Average. Now, in those narrations, because there's 3 now, not 1, not 2, now there's 3. If you have 3 Hasan hadiths, automatically it will go up to the level of Sahihun li ghayrihi. Sahih because of other clauses. Okay? Sahih because of other clauses. So automatically the Hasan in and of itself, but because there's a collective power, the collective power takes them to Sahihun li ghayrihi. Sahihun li ghayrihi. Likewise, if there's da'if hadiths, not extremely weak hadith, but da'if, just da'if. There's da'if hadiths, let's say 3 da'if hadiths. This will not always be the case, by the way. Okay, this is general, just for you to understand the example. This is general. Sometimes, if the illah is the same, meaning the problem is the same one narrator in all those 3 hadiths, then you can't. Then it's not going to go up to the level of sahihun li ghayrihi. Okay, or for example, you got 3 da'if hadiths, they won't go up to the level of hasanun li ghayrihi if the illah is the same. If the illah is the same, illah is the problem in the matan of the sanad, that's the same, then that won't go up to the level of hasanun li ghayrihi. But generally, it would go up if there's 3 different chains and you've got it in different books. You put all those 3 hadiths together, they will go up to the level of, these 3 weak hadiths will go up to the level of hasanun li ghayrihi. Now this week, say for Shob Barat, the 15th of Sha'ban. There is 1 or 2 hadiths which are hasanun li dhatihi. Okay, admitted by the muhaddithin. So I don't know why many people have a problem with Shob Barat. Yeah, because there is 1 or 2 hadiths which are absolutely hasan according to many of the ulama in the past. But then there's so many weak hadiths, not just 1 or 2. There's a full handful. Yeah, I don't know how many right now at the top of my head, but there's a full handful of many da'if hadiths supporting the 15th of Sha'ban. So you can't say there's no relevance to 15th of Sha'ban. Otherwise, you'd be a jahil of hadith. No matter what people call you as a sheikh, you'd be a jahil of hadith because you didn't see those hadiths. Clearly, you didn't see those hadiths. You understand? So, if you put all those da'if hadiths together, then according to the rule of mustalah al-hadith, it will automatically go up to the level of hasanun li ghayrihi. We learned hasanun li ghayrihi. That's why I gave you an example. Shob Barat. That's a nice example to give. But this is a general example. But this example is not correct because in the 15th of Sha'ban, there are hadiths which are hasan. Dr. Usmani very clearly proves it to be hasan by many of the muhaddithin. So, again, that's not a good... It's just to give you an understanding, inshallah. Just so you understand the example. Then, we explain hasanun sahih. When Imam Tirmidhi, the only Imam Tirmidhi uses this word. Hasanun sahih. What does hasanun sahih mean? According to Ibn Hajar, it means aw. Meaning, it can be hasan and it can be sahih. It's one of the two. It can be hasan, it can be sahih. According to Allama Ibn Kathir, his explanation of what Imam Tirmidhi means by hasanun sahih, so the only Imam that uses this word is Hasanun Sahih. Hasanun Sahih is Imam Tirmidhi. No Imam, no muhaddith in the world use this in this fashion. When Allama Ibn Kathir says it's basically a higher category of Hasan, but lower than Sahih. So it's a category in between Hasan and Sahih. You understand? It's a category in between Hasan and Sahih. Whereas Ibn Hajar, according to his conclusion, it means, according to some ulama, they say it's Hasan. According to some ulama, they say this hadith is Sahih. Two, all on their own. They have the right. They are muhaddithin. They are fuqaha. They have their own judgment to make. Some will say, those who are a bit more lenient, they'll say it's Sahih. Those who are a bit more strict, they'll say this is Hasan. Okay? So, it's your choice. That's the meaning of Hasan and Sahih. Then we go on to Da'if. Da'if, usually here, Da'if generally, of course there's 120 categories of Da'if. So when a person says Da'if, weak, and he starts jumping up and down thinking that he understands what Da'if means, is a big problem in and of itself. That's the biggest problem, because people don't study. People don't study. They've never come across this, they've never studied this, they've never gone into the books of Mustalah al-Hadith. If you don't go into the books of Mustalah al-Hadith, and you hear a sheikh say, Da'if, day and night, bid'ah, what's going to happen to you? You're automatically going to say the same thing as the sheikh is saying. Because according to you, everything that you hear, anything that sounds strange is bid'ah. Anything that sounds strange is weak. Before even looking into the hadith, before even looking into what the ulama have said regarding that hadith. Isn't it? You're not a mujtahid. The sheikh isn't a mujtahid. Asim al-Hakim is a mujtahid. Yeah? Would any Tom, Dick and Harry on the street would say he's a mujtahid? No. Even someone who hasn't studied will clearly know that he's a joker. You're not a sheikh. Okay? Sheikh is someone that can clearly demonstrate his level of studies in Sharia for years and years and years. And he's been accredited. So 120 you'd find by, for example, Allama Shawkani. Allama Shawkani, he's the one that goes into more categories and more categories. The more categories that you go into, generally, if you stick to like the earlier scholars, they'll restrict you to like 60 something, somewhere there. Okay, if you stick to like Ibn Salah, and they'll go into like 60 categories of weak hadiths. But then, if you want to now, for each category, if you want to make into 2 categories, you can, because there's more possibility of weak hadiths coming out in different ways, in different types. Okay, because of different reasons. So, Allama Shawkani, he mentions 120, more than 120 types. Whereas the earlier scholars like Muqaddimah ibn Salah, if you study Muqaddimah ibn Salah is like the book to study. It is the book. It's the standard book that you have to study in every single Islamic university in the world. If you don't study that book, then you don't have any insight into this field, into the field of principles of hadith, of how hadith is judged and how hadith is accepted. So, yes, if generally speaking, it's because of some link in the chain, because it's not linked, okay? Because of a breakage in a link. Like we went through munqati', we went through mu'dal, we went through, what other hadiths were there? Mu'dal is when 2 or more places, the links are missing. The links are missing, automatically the hadith becomes weak. Automatically the hadith becomes weak. Mursal, we said this, that's a category where the ulama differ. The Malikis and the Hanafis, they say we take specifically from certain scholars Mursal hadith. Mursal hadith is when a tabi'i says directly from the Sahaba, directly, he omits the Sahaba and he says directly from Rasulullah. So for example, Ibn Sirin, he died 110 after Hijrah. He says, Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Hasan al-Basri, he says, Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. What's going to happen? Is Hasan al-Basri Sahabi? He's not Sahabi. Is Ibn Sirin Sahabi? He's not Sahabi. We know that from the date that he passed away. So, if he says, Qala Rasulullah, and this was common by many of the ulama. If he says, Qala Rasulullah, then, according to the Malikis and the Hanafis, generally it will be accepted. It will be accepted. Whereas, according to the Shafis and the Hanbalis, they'd say, no, Mursal is a weak hadith. According to the vast majority of, that's why I'm saying, when you study the books of Mustalah, you become a bit more confused. You become more confused because you think, why here everyone's saying that Mursal is rejected? Mursal is a type of weak hadith. It's a type of weak hadith, but you have to understand which mursals Imam Abu Hanifa accepts. He doesn't accept any mursal. Imam Malik doesn't accept any mursal. You understand? He doesn't accept any mursal. He accepts certain mursal. This is why I said in the beginning that Imam Abu Hanifa, he's very careful when he takes his sanad. Okay, he's very careful when he takes his sanad. And to him, a chain of faqih, because a faqih is like the easiest comparison you can make is like a pharmacist who studies for how many years do they study? 3 years. The degree is 3 years. Yeah, degree is 3 years. And then they go for training another 2 years or something. 5 years. That's it. Finished. You become pharmacist. Whereas a doctor, he has to go and study approximately 12 to 15 years, including training, probably 15 years, to become a GP, a general practitioner. That's a faqih. He doesn't have medicine by him. Has he got a whole load of medicine behind him? He doesn't have anything. But he's got the qualification of a general practitioner. He knows everything. That all that medication inside the pharmacy, which one conflicts with the other medicine? Blood pressure medication, if you have this, is going to conflict with that medication. That medication is going to be a problem with that medication. Ibuprofen, don't have it with this. That, don't have it with that. Why did he give me paracetamol? Go and tell your doctor. He's going to prescribe paracetamol. He's not going to give you Nurofen. Now, why did he give you Nurofen? Why didn't he give you Nurofen? You can't argue. He told you. He's a doctor. You're not the doctor. He's a faqih. You understand? So a faqih, he studied to such an extent where that 3 or 5 years of the pharmacist is a joke. You understand? So now, Imam Abu Hanifa, when he finds a chain, and generally that's his chains, when he finds a chain, even if it's longer, even if it's got like 5 people in the chain, or 4 people in the chain, because he's a very, very early person, even if he's got 4 people in the chain, whereas you are coming with, for example, a chain from Imam Malik's Muwatta, which has 3 people on the chain, he'll say, look, my chain is a chain of fuqaha. Your chain is a chain of muhaddithin. How could you compare your narrators with my narrators? My narrators are the most senior narrators of the world. The whole world knows them. How could you compare them with your muhaddith narrator? You understand? Big difference. It's like a pharmacist saying something, is medicating some medicine, and it's like a GP giving you medication, and he knows all your ailments and problems. Your question was?
Very good. And actually,
I preferred the other one because with the other one, muhaddith, he has everything in his head. It's like Hafiz. You tell him any verse, he can carry on the spot. Yeah. Whereas a general practitioner is slightly different. He doesn't have the hundreds of hadiths by him on the spot there and then, but he knows how they work. He studied how they work. Which one conflicts with the other? You understand? He knows the ins and outs of all those medicines inside your pharmacy. But if you go to the pharmacist, you go and see with your own eyes, oh, mashallah, he's got a lot of medicine here. So now any muhaddith that has a lot of hadiths, you'd think, oh, he might be a good solver of this puzzle. Because Quran and Sunnah is a puzzle. Ultimately, Quran and Sunnah is a puzzle that needs to be solved. Now, you're going to have difference of interpretations. Different GPs will give you different diagnoses, you know. Not all of them are going to be the same. That's what the imams are. Literally, that's what the imams are. That's the easiest understanding that you can give to an old person. Because Sufyan al-Thawri, he comes in an incident in the book of biographies. He mentions, was it Sufyan? I don't remember exactly who the narrator was. One of the great muhaddithin, basically. I'm not going to quote exactly. One of the narrators, great muhaddithin, he used to narrate hadiths to Imam Abu Hanifa, and Imam Abu Hanifa would go and benefit from him. A person came and asked a question. The Imam that was there, he's like, I don't know the answer. Later on, he said, go to Imam Abu Hanifa. He went to Imam Abu Hanifa, and then he said, come back with the answer to me. So he went to Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam Abu Hanifa gave him the conclusion. He solved the problem, basically. Later on, that person came to him, and he said, this is the answer. The muhaddith, he went running to Imam Abu Hanifa. He said, how did you solve the problem? He said, didn't you narrate the hadith is this with this chain and this chain and this chain and this chain? One by one, he was narrating all the hadiths that he heard from that muhaddith. Imam Abu Hanifa was narrating to him back. The student was narrating to the ustad back all the way through. Then he made this statement. Antumul atibba wa nahnu sayadila. You are the doctors and we are the pharmacists. This is why we use the example. Okay? This is why the muhaddithin use the example. That a muhaddith, a person who memorizes hadiths only without deep understanding of all the problems that come about in hadith and the extraction of the fiqhi issues that you can extract and how to extract, principles of extracting, he doesn't have that. Okay? He just memorizes. It's like a Hafiz Sahib. He just memorizes parrots. He parrots it, but his perfection. His perfection is in the parroting of the hadiths. Not that all of them were ignorant. No. There's different levels. It's like, for example, one of the muhaddith, he went into Kufa. He said, I only went and found 4,000 fuqaha. The rest of them were muhaddithin. Because it's hard to become a faqih. It's not easy. To become a faqih, to understand the nitty-gritty of the hadith, is very difficult compared to just becoming a hadith scholar and saying, oh, this hadith is weak because of this person and this person and this person. This hadith is sahih because of this person and this person and this person. This hadith is like this because the matan, there's an addition of the ziyadat wa thiqa here. You know? It's easy to do that. But to now take it to another dimension and solve the whole puzzle and to put every confliction. That's why they say many of the great muhaddithin, they memorized so many, like Ibn Wahab. Ibn Wahab was one of the greatest Maliki scholars in the Maliki madhab, like all out. Ibn Wahab. He said, I was so confused. I memorized hundreds of thousands of hadith. I was so confused until I came to Imam Malik. He just solved all the problematic hadiths in front of me like it's a piece of cake. Do you understand? So if you don't go to the faqih, if you don't go to someone who's a person who's deep diving into the meanings of the hadiths, and he's got valid principles and established principles, and he can explain to you the problems. It's like Sharh Ma'ani al-Athar in the Hanafi madhab. There is no book like that in history. Why do you think Shu'aib Arnaut, who's a Salafi scholar, why do you think he done full takhrij, complete, full on takhrij? 26 volumes, if I remember correctly. 26 volumes, full sourcing of every single hadith in that book. Mushkilul Athar. Very similar to Sharh Ma'ani al-Athar, the one that we study in Darul Uloom. This is another book. The one that's translated is Sharh Ma'ani al-Athar. The other book, Mushkilul Athar, very similar. So conflicting hadiths, he brings both conflict, and majority of the hadiths are all more or less authentic. More or less, like 98% of the hadith are authentic inside that book. Because it's a book of evidences. Generally speaking, in a book of evidences, generally you have to come up with authentic evidences. Otherwise, you're coming up with weak. It's not gonna hold water, basically. That evidence is not gonna hold water. So, Mushkilul Athar, he went through that book because he understands that there's no book in that much detail in history ever written by any single scholar, especially early scholar. Imam Tahawi was from 321, he passed away. 321 after Hijrah. He's a very early scholar. He's over 1,100 years now, isn't it? So, this is an exposition of all the conflicting hadiths. He just broke it up and he said, this is the problem with that hadith, and this is the problem with this hadith, and this is the problem with that hadith, and this is how you reconcile between these two hadiths, and this hadith is mansukh and that hadith is nasikh. He just broke it up into pieces, like as a joke. like a joke. That's why you have to study those books to become an alim. To become a proper alim, that book isn't studied because of the size. It's quite big. It's a big collection of book. But it's recommended for normal students of knowledge to go into it. Sharh Ma'ani al-Athar, the reason why they teach it is because it's slightly smaller. You're able to complete that book. But if you look at the way he explains in each and every single hadith and how he reconciles between problematic hadiths, like on the face value, that in and of itself requires a mastery of that fun. And you have to be a master in that fun to become a mujtahid. Okay? To become a mujtahid, you have to be a master in that field of you solving problematic hadiths. On face value, you're going to find, always you're going to find, Rasulullah standing and urinated. But the hadith isn't, Sahih hadith, isn't it? You're going to come across it just now. But Aisha radiallahu anha says, anyone who says that Rasulullah standing and urinated has spoken lie against Rasulullah. Who do you accept? The hadith, the other person, he definitely saw Rasulullah standing and urinating. You understand? Whereas Aisha is saying, whoever says that is a liar. How are you going to reconcile between that? You understand? Rasulullah might have done it one-off because of a certain reason, because it's going to splash on him. You know, the dung and everything that was in that area is going to splatter onto him. That's why he stood and urinated in that specific instance. This is why you need Ustad. Without Ustad, you're going to be lost in life. Lost in life. Just like any other field. Any other field that you go into, you're not going to try to become a finance manager without studying finance in a proper formal background, with an expert. It just doesn't work in any field. But now in the Islamic field, unfortunately, everyone wants to become an alim without having any qualifications of an alim. Just because I sat with one sheikh and that sheikh and this sheikh and that sheikh, that's it, I become an alim. That's not the qualification of an alim. Unfortunate. And the sanad is the most important thing. Sanad is definitely most important. This is why we study the sanad. This is why we talk about the sanad so much. And unfortunately, many of our discourses have become bereft, meaning they don't discuss the sanad. And the whole power of our deen is in the sanad. The whole reason why hadith literature came to us, Quran came to us. How did the Quran come to us? Through sanad. Through sanad. If you don't have sanad, some ulama, even like some strict ulama in Syria, they used to say you're not allowed to teach. Quran without sanad.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Inshallah, let's just finish this off. 2 minutes, inshallah. So, any hadiths which have breakages inside the sanad, generally, it